keep this idea in your mind as we run through this abundance lesson here. John is going to lead you through that now. Let's give John a hand as he comes on.
About 6 years ago, I was down in a place called South Jersey, around Cherry Hill, Trenton, Atlantic City. And there was 2 speakers on a program just before me. And I've never been able to understand why I'm always the last one on a program, no matter where we're speaking. As a matter of fact, same thing happens to Robert. But something interesting happened on this program. There were 2 people on it who were stone blind. The first speaker was Tom Sullivan, that you see in the odd TV show, Good Morning America, programs of that nature. And both of them gave the same title to their talk that day. And the title went like this: If only you people could see what we hear. Now that day I learned something about that we don't see with our eyes, but we do see with our mind. In other words, and I'm going to work with both boards here in a little while, but I learned that day that the individual who has a desire can achieve that desire when they understand the relationship of being able to see it with their mind. Now, when Charlie Bosley got up that day, I could not believe what I heard when he was introduced as one of the top 10% of all life insurance agents on this earth, but yet the man was stone blind. Now, Charlie Bosley said he has always had a desire to achieve something. But he said he never ever left the house because he was feeling sorry for himself as a result of something that happened to him in Vietnam. Then he said one day he was down in Atlanta watching a great golf tournament with the great Ben Hogan. And Ben Hogan would get up and tee off, and they'd tell Charlie, Ben's getting up to tee off, and he'd yell, come on, Ben, you can do it, you can do it. They'd come over and say, Mr. Bosley, you can't talk like that. At a golf tournament, you have to pretend you're at a funeral. But he said, I went through it for 18 holes because Ben Hogan is my hero. And he said, no one's going to throw a blind man off the golf course. Now, he said, when it was all over, Ben Hogan came up to him and he said, Mr. Bosley, I want to thank you for being such an inspiration to me today. And Bosley said, no, it's I who should be thanking you, Mr. Hogan. He said, you see, when I heard your story, I was a man living in pity. He said, I heard about your car accident and how before the head-on collision you fell in front of your wife to protect her. And then when they got you to the hospital, they said to your wife, Mrs. Hogan, Ben will not live the night. And your wife said, you obviously don't know my husband. Now, he said, the next morning when you proved the experts wrong and you were able to continue with your life, they said, but Mrs. Hogan, Ben is never going to walk again. And she said, you obviously don't know my husband. Now, as months went by, you see, Ben, he started to get his spirit back again. He started becoming consciously aware, I'm in a bed, my body is broken, but I want to play golf again. And they said, Mrs. Hogan, he wants his golf clubs now strung up on the ceiling where he can see them all day long, but he's never going to play golf again. And Mrs. Hogan said, now he said, Mr. Hogan, you have won more golf tournaments and championships since your accident than before. And he said, that's the reason that I started to experience a different relationship with all the things that I have ever desired. And Hogan said, is there anything I can do for you, Mr. Bosley? He said, as a matter of fact, there is. He said, you know, I'm pretty good golfer. Do you know that he can beat many people on a golf course any day of the week, even though he's blind? He said, what can I do for you, Mr. Bosley? He said, I want to play one round of golf with the great Ben Hogan. Anytime you want. He said, there's one condition, Mr. Hogan. I want to play for $1,000 a hole. Now, I want you to keep in mind here, before I finish this story, Bob mentioned how some people put what is called a crown on circumstance. In other words, there are some people that actually get down and they deify this word circumstance. That's what's in control of their life. But yet here was a man whose sensory factor called sight, it was absent, he was blind. And Ben said, there is no way that I'm going to play you for $1,000 a hole. What will people think of me? He said, now just a minute, Mr. Hogan, you asked me for a request, I gave it to you, now you're backing out. Well, he got the best of Ben, and Ben said, I'll tell you what, I've got some people here, they're witness to the fact that I warned you, I'll play you, but I am going to play my best. Charlie said, that's fine. I wouldn't expect you to do anything else, Ben. Ben said, okay, when do you want to play? And Charlie said, 10 o'clock tonight.